The first time the galaxy truly heard Earth, it wasn't a greeting. It wasn't a song. It wasn't a request. It was a warning, sharp, calm, and final. The kind of warning you only give when you have already made peace with what comes next. Because for 200 years, humanity had stayed quiet. Not weak. Not harmless. Just restrained. In the year 2319, the star maps above Earth looked like a living web. Human trade ships moved between worlds like blood through veins. Human doctors worked beside alien surgeons. Human engineers helped build ring stations around distant suns. To most alien nations, humans were useful and polite, fast learners with bright minds and softer hands. That was the mask. The Galactic Harmony Compact, often called the Compact, had offered humanity membership long ago. It was the biggest alliance in known space. Thousands of species, one set of laws, one promise: peace through control. The Compact leaders had watched Earth's violent history and decided humans were too dangerous to grow freely. So they gave Earth a welcome with conditions. No massive warships. No certain kinds of weapons. No independent military expansion beyond a strict limit. Compact inspectors would visit human ports, check human factories, and monitor human research. Most of the galaxy called it guidance. Humans called it a leash. Not everyone complained. Many people said it was worth it. Trade boomed. Disease dropped. Colonies spread. Families lived safer lives than their ancestors ever had. And in public, Earth agreed with the Compact's rules. In private, Earth learned something older than space travel. A cage can be comfortable, until the day something hungry finds the door. Director Lian Ma stood inside a silent room beneath the Andes Mountains. There were no flags here. No speeches. No cameras. Only screens, numbers, and people who did not smile much. A hologram floated above the table. A star system. A small human colony. Orchard 9. 8 million people lived there. Farmers. Teachers. Children. The planet fed nearby worlds. It was not a military base. It was not a threat. It was the kind of place people moved to when they wanted quiet skies. Lian's assistant, a lean man named Soren Vance, slid a report across the table. They crossed the line, Soren said. Confirmed. Lian didn't ask which line. There were many lines in galactic politics. Borders. Treaties. Rules. But there was one line that mattered more than all of them. Do not touch Earth civilians. On the display, red marks showed ship movements, heavy fleets gathering in the dark between systems. The pattern was not random. It was clean, practiced, hungry. The attackers were not part of the Compact. They called themselves the Car Dominion. The Car were not diplomats. They were conquerors with thick-plated armor, long jaws, and a culture built on taking what they wanted. For centuries they had tested borders the way predators test fences. The Compact usually responded the same way: meetings, warnings, slow fleets, long debates. The Dominion had learned the truth. The Compact was old, and slow. Lian turned her head toward another screen, an open channel to the Compact Security Council. A floating symbol pulsed. Request received. Under review. That phrase had become a cruel joke across human intelligence circles. Under review meant, we are going to talk until the problem becomes ashes. Soren watched Lian's face carefully. Should we alert the civilian networks? Lian's voice stayed steady. Not yet. That wasn't kindness. It was strategy. If the Dominion sensed panic, they would strike faster. If the Compact sensed human fear, they would tighten the leash further. And if human citizens saw the Compact doing nothing, again, anger would spread like fire. Lian breathed in once, slow. Track everything. No gaps. I want their fuel routes. Their signal patterns. Their command structure. Soren nodded. Yes, Director. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. And the other thing. Lian looked at the far wall. There was no door marked. No sign. No official record. Just a steel panel with a biometric lock. Behind it was a program the Compact did not know existed. Humans called it Project Anvil. It was not built for glory. It was not built for conquest. It was built because humans refused to die politely. Leanne didn't answer at first. She watched the red marks on the map drift closer to Orchard 9. Then she said, "Wake the quiet yards." Soren's eyes tightened. "That's a major step." "Yes," Leanne said. "That's the point." Far above Earth, on the orbital city of Meridian Crown, public life continued as if the universe was stable. People walked through parks under glass domes. Children chased drones shaped like birds. A musician played old Earth songs near a food stall selling spiced algae noodles. Ambassador Nera Holt stood at a wide window, watching stars through the station's transparent shell. She was human, middle-aged, with sharp eyes and a calm posture trained by years of diplomacy. A Compact liaison, an alien named Sevri, stood beside her. Sevri had 4 arms and skin like pale stone. Its voice was gentle and careful. "The Council is concerned," Sevri said. "They are discussing options." Nera's jaw tightened. "Options?" Sevri tilted its head. "We must avoid escalation." Nera turned slowly. Orchard 9 is not an escalation. It's a farm world. Sevri's hands folded together in a polite gesture. The Dominion may be provoked by increased patrols. Nera stared at the alien. "You're worried the attacker will feel threatened," she said softly, "if we try to defend the people being attacked." Sevri didn't answer directly. It rarely did. That was how the Compact survived so long. It avoided hard decisions until someone else paid the cost. Nera's wrist console buzzed. A message flashed in a private channel, encrypted beyond Compact monitoring. From L. Ma. Subject: Orchard 9. Text: They are coming. Council will not stop them. Prepare your message. Nera's heart sank, but her face stayed calm. Diplomacy taught that emotions were weapons others could use against you. Sevri watched her. "Bad news." Nera smiled politely, the way humans had learned to smile in cages. "Just a reminder," she said, "that some storms don't care about rules." Hours later, deep in space, the Car Dominion fleet entered the Orchard 9 system. They did not call for talks. They did not offer demands. They moved like a blade sliding from a sheath. The first shots hit the orbital elevators, long towers connecting ground to sky. They shattered in silence, then screamed as they fell. The second wave targeted power stations, water plants, and communication arrays. The Dominion didn't want a fight. They wanted a lesson. On the surface, a woman named Tessa Minori was closing her greenhouse for the night when the horizon turned white. Not sunrise. Not lightning. Fire, so bright it erased color from the world. She ran outside and saw a line of light cut across the sky. A city far away bloomed into a rising cloud. Her daughter stumbled out behind her, barefoot, crying. "Mom, what is that?" Tessa pulled her close. She tried to speak, but her throat locked. Her mind couldn't accept what her eyes were seeing. The Compact had promised safety. The Compact had promised peace. But peace doesn't stop a predator that has decided you are meat. Across the galaxy, emergency channels flooded with footage. Orchard 9 burning. People screaming. Towers collapsing. The Dominion ships hovering like dark gods above a helpless world. And still, the Compact debated. Still, they reviewed. Back under the Andes, Director Leanne Ma watched the same footage on a secure screen. Her face remained still, but her hand clenched so tightly her knuckles went pale. Soren's voice came through the room's speakers. "Director, we've confirmed the Dominion commander. We can target him if we move fast." Leanne didn't look away from the burning planet. "No," she said. "Not yet." Soren sounded confused. "Not yet." Leanne finally turned, eyes like cold iron. "If we strike in the dark," she said, "the galaxy will call us monsters. The Compact will call us criminals. They'll tighten the leash and pretend Orchard 9 was an accident." She leaned forward. But if we wait until the whole galaxy watches, then when Earth speaks, they will understand every word. Soren swallowed. And what will Earth say? Lian's voice was quiet, almost gentle. That we held back long enough. Above the table, the Orchard 9 map flickered as the Dominion fleet kept firing. Then another screen lit up, one Lian had been waiting for. A secure channel from the hidden shipyards. Project Anvil status. Online. Fleet. Ready. Awaiting humanity's word. Lian Ma closed her eyes for a single breath. Then she opened them. Start the broadcast, she said. And far out among the stars, the galaxy, finally, was about to hear Earth's real voice. The galaxy did not panic because a human colony was burning. Tragedies happened all the time in space. Planets starved. Moons cracked. Wars flared and died like sparks. No, what made the Milky Way hold its breath was what happened after the burning began. Because for the first time in 200 years, humanity broke protocol. Every compact citizen, human and alien, felt it at once. Screens flickered. Comms paused mid-sentence. Trade channels cut off. Entertainment streams went black for one heartbeat. Then a single signal pushed through everything, overriding thousands of networks like a tide swallowing candles. It didn't carry ads. It didn't carry music. It carried a face. Ambassador Neera Holt stood at a simple podium. Behind her was not the grand marble of the compact assembly hall. Not the polished calm of diplomacy. Behind her was a plain wall of dark metal, lit by one white strip of light. The kind of place built for truth, not comfort. Her voice entered every translator system at once. Clear, slow, controlled. People of the compact, she said. And those who are not part of it. This message is for all of you. Every species. Every world. Every ship in the dark. She paused. Her eyes did not shine with fear. They shone with something colder. Orchard 9 is burning. As she spoke, the broadcast shifted to live images. The Dominion fleet hung in orbit like a ring of knives. City domes shattered. Fields ignited. Emergency shelters collapsed under precision strikes. The footage was brutal, but it wasn't gore. It was worse. It was the proof of helplessness. Neera's voice returned. The Car Dominion has attacked an unarmed human colony. 8 million civilians lived there. Teachers. Farmers. Children. Her fingers tightened slightly on the podium. Small motion. Big meaning. The compact has been notified. The compact has acknowledged the event. The compact is discussing it. That last word landed like an insult. In thousands of council chambers across the galaxy, compact officials shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away from the screens. Others stared, unable to accept that a human ambassador had just mocked the compact's holy process, live, in front of everyone. Neera leaned forward a fraction. We are not here to beg, she said. We are not here to request sympathy. Her voice hardened. We are here to speak plainly. Another pause. For 200 years, humanity obeyed the restrictions you placed on us. We limited our fleet. We ended projects you called dangerous. We allowed inspectors into our shipyards and labs. We swallowed insults because we believed peace was worth restraint. The broadcast cut to a graphic, simple and sharp. A timeline of human history. Stone tools. Fire. Industry. Spaceflight. Faster-than-light travel. Under it, a second timeline. Human war. Human invention. Human survival. Neera's eyes never left the camera. You watched our past, she said, and you feared what we might become. So you placed rules around us. You said it was for our own good. For the galaxy's good. Her voice lowered. We agreed, because we wanted to belong. Then her tone changed again, like a door locking. But Orchard 9 is burning anyway. The translators struggled for a moment. Many alien languages did not have a clean match for the emotion in her voice. Some called it rage. Some called it grief. But those who understood humans best recognized it. It was the calm of a species that had decided to survive no matter what it cost. Nira took a slow breath. "This is the part where the compact tells you to remain calm," she said. "To wait. To trust procedure." She shook her head slightly. "No." On the far side of the galaxy, Director Lian Ma watched from her underground control room. Around her, staff members worked silently, hands moving fast, faces pale with focus. No cheering. No shouting. Just humans doing what they always did when the world collapsed around them. Building a way out. Soren Vance spoke without looking up from his console. "The Dominion is jamming local communications on Orchard 9. Survivors can't coordinate." Lian's jaw clenched. "Can we break through?" Soren tapped commands. "We can punch a narrow channel, but they'll trace it." "Let them," Lian said. Soren hesitated. "Director, if we open this up, the compact will know we're using restricted arrays." Lian's eyes stayed on the burning planet. "They already know we're dying," she said. "What more can they take from us?" The room fell quiet as an engineer named Kato Ren flicked a switch. A hidden relay, older than anyone in the room, came alive. A beam of tight communication light pierced the Dominion jamming field like a needle. On Orchard 9's surface, inside a half-collapsed emergency shelter, Tessa Minori's wristband buzzed. She blinked at it like it was a hallucination. A message appeared. Simple words. "Incoming channel, Earth. Stay low. Stay quiet. Follow instructions." Tessa stared. Her daughter clung to her arm, shivering. "Mom, is that real?" Tessa swallowed hard. "Yes," she whispered. "Earth is talking to us." A second message arrived, along with a location marker. "Move to Sector 14B. Do not use light. Do not use open comms." Tessa didn't understand how Earth could see through the smoke, through the chaos, through a Dominion blockade. But humans had learned something long before they learned faster-than-light travel. If you can't win with power, win with planning. And if you can't be seen, become the shadow. Back in orbit, the Dominion commander, Warlord Vesh Kor, stood on his bridge watching the destruction with satisfaction. He was enormous, plated like a living tank, eyes like hot stones. His tactical officer approached. "My lord, we detected a narrowband transmission. Source unknown." Vesh Kor's jaws parted slightly. "Compact interference." The officer hesitated. "Signature suggests human." Vesh Kor made a low sound, amused. "Humans," he repeated, like the word tasted strange. "The leashed species." The officer's crest twitched. The signal vanished. Too fast to trace. Vesh Kor's amusement faded. He didn't like what he didn't control. "Double the jamming," he ordered. "I want silence on that world. No prayers. No last words. No courage." He leaned closer to the main screen. "Let them feel alone." In the compact assembly, High Mediator Selm, an ancient being with translucent skin and slow blinking eyes, watched Nira Holt's broadcast with growing alarm. "This is improper," Selm murmured. "She is inciting." An aide whispered, "She's calling for action, Mediator. If humans move without authorization." Selm lifted one hand. "Humans cannot move. Their fleet is limited." The aide shifted uneasily. "Officially, yes." Selm did not like that word. Officially. Because deep inside every compact leader, there was a secret fear they never voiced. That humans smiled too easily. That humans adapted too quickly. That when humans agreed to restrictions, they did it with the same calm a storm has before it breaks. Nira's broadcast continued, now showing her walking, not behind a podium, but through a corridor lined with names. At first, viewers thought it was a memorial. Then the camera widened. It wasn't a memorial. It was a wall of human colony names, hundreds of them, etched into metal. Each name carried a date. A founding. And next to Orchard 9, a new mark had appeared. A black line. A death mark. Nira stopped beside it. "This is the cost of your peace," she said. This is what restraint buys us when predators test your borders. She faced the camera again. So hear this clearly, Galaxy. Humanity will not ask permission to defend its people. The air across 1,000 worlds seemed to tighten. Neera's voice became quieter, somehow even more dangerous. For 200 years, we held back. We learned your rules. We played your game. Her eyes lifted slightly, as if she was speaking to something above the camera. We did not do it because we were weak. She paused. We did it because we were hoping you were strong enough to protect what you promised. She looked down again. You were not. The broadcast cut to a final screen. Not a logo. Not a flag. Just words. Earth declares, restraint ends now. Across human space, hidden shipyards woke like beasts lifting their heads. Quiet stations in dead systems powered up reactors that hadn't burned in decades. Crews boarded ships that did not exist on any registry. Project Anvil was no longer a rumor. It was reality. In Lian Ma's control room, alarms pinged as the first stealth carrier came online. Kato Ren's voice shook slightly. Director, we're live. Lian stared at the fleet status grid. Dozens of ships. Then hundreds. Each one built under a single philosophy. Outthink the enemy. Outlast the enemy. Outbuild the enemy. Soren looked at her. Orders. Lian's lips parted, then closed. For a second, she seemed older, like every year of restraint finally landed on her shoulders. Then she spoke. Not a full strike, she said. Not yet. Soren frowned. But Orchard 9. We save who we can, Lian said. And we make the Dominion certain humans are not prey. She pointed at the map. Deploy ghost teams to the surface. Insert under jamming. Evacuate survivors. Soren's eyes widened. That's impossible. Lian's voice stayed calm. That's what the Galaxy always says about humans. On Orchard 9, Tessa Minori moved through smoke with a group of strangers. No one spoke. They followed the location marker, stepping over shattered glass and broken metal. Above them, Dominion ships continued to burn the world. But then something changed. A new sound slid across the night sky. Not an explosion. Not a laser. A whispering hum, like air itself was folding. A shadow moved between stars. Too fast to be a meteor. Too controlled to be debris. Tessa looked up and saw nothing clearly. But she felt it. Like a presence. Like someone arriving who had been held back too long. In orbit, the Dominion sensors flickered. The tactical officer froze. My lord, we are detecting mass distortions. Multiple. No transponder codes. Veshkor's eyes narrowed. How many? The officer's voice became thin. We can't count them. For the first time since the attack began, Warlord Veshkor did not look amused. He looked uncertain. And in the void between worlds, uncertainty was the first crack in any empire. The Dominion had planned Orchard 9 like a lesson. Burn the cities. Break the infrastructure. Leave nothing alive that could resist. Then withdraw before the compact finished arguing. It was clean. Efficient. Familiar. What they had not planned for was humans who refused to fight fair. High above the shattered planet, the Dominion fleet drifted in tight formation. Their sensors scanned for threats the way they always did, looking for engines, weapons fire, energy spikes. They found nothing. Which was the first mistake. Inside a Dominion command vessel, Warlord Veshkor studied the sensor readouts with a growing sense of irritation. Explain again, he growled. The tactical officer swallowed. We are detecting gravitational ripples that do not match natural phenomena. They appear controlled. Ships. Veshkor demanded. No confirmed vessels, my lord. No heat trails. No drives. Veshkor's claws scraped against the arm of his command throne. Nothing moves without leaving a mark. The officer hesitated. Humans do. That earned him a hard stare. Do not insult me with myths, Veshkor said. Humans are traders. Builders. They follow rules. The officer said nothing. Because deep down, even the Dominion had studied human history. And history whispered a different story. On the surface of Orchard 9, Ghost Team Delta 1 moved through the ruins like smoke. They wore no shining armor. No banners. Their suits bent light around them, not perfectly, but enough to blur their outlines. Their boots never touched the ground directly. Magnetic pads adjusted pressure so footsteps vanished into dust without sound. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu led the team. She was small, sharp-eyed, and calm in a way that came from growing up knowing the universe did not care if you were brave. Her team signaled in short bursts, finger taps, head tilts, brief flashes of icons inside helmet displays. No voices. Voices were loud. They reached the edge of Sector 14B just as another Dominion bombardment shook the ground. A distant explosion rolled across the ruins like thunder. Mara raised a hand. Freeze. Her team stopped instantly. Through drifting smoke, she saw them, civilians huddled inside the shell of a collapsed transit hub. Dozens of heat signatures. Weak. Frightened. Alive. Mara felt something tighten in her chest. Targets found, she sent silently across the neural link. Begin Phase 2. Above them, the Dominion fleet adjusted position, preparing another strike. They never saw what hit them. Not at first. A Dominion cruiser's sensor array flickered. Just for a heartbeat. The officer monitoring it frowned. Minor glitch, he muttered. Then the cruiser's power grid surged in a way that made no sense. Not overload. Not failure. A perfect loop. The ship's own systems began feeding false data into themselves, confirming everything was fine while slowly shutting down control layers one by one. On the bridge, alarms did not sound. That was the cruel part. By the time the cruiser drifted slightly out of formation, its crew was already blind. Across the fleet, similar glitches appeared. Weapons targeting lagged by milliseconds. Navigation systems disagreed with each other. Command signals echoed back with tiny distortions, just enough to confuse, not enough to alert. Director Lian Ma watched it all from her control room. Ghost Fleet is live, Soren Vance reported. Phase 3 underway. Lian nodded once. Humans had learned long ago that raw power attracted attention. Confusion did not. On Orchard 9, Mara's team moved. They slipped into the transit hub, scanning survivors for injuries. Med drones deployed automatically, sealing wounds, stabilizing breathing. A woman clutched her child, eyes wide with disbelief. "You're real," she whispered. Mara knelt in front of her. She removed her helmet, not protocol, but necessary. "Yes," Mara said softly. "We're real." The woman's voice shook. "They said Earth couldn't come." Mara's jaw tightened. "Earth doesn't ask permission." A sudden tremor rocked the structure. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Move," Mara ordered calmly. "Extraction window is open." Outside, the air bent. A shape appeared where nothing had been, a transport craft with no visible engines, its surface absorbing light like a shadow with edges. To the Dominion sensors, it was a rounding error. To the survivors, it was a miracle. As civilians boarded, Dominion ground drones emerged from the smoke, angular machines bristling with weapons. Mara's team turned as one. They didn't fire immediately. Instead, a device dropped from one soldier's hand and rolled across the ground. The drone's targeting system locked onto it. Then the device unfolded. Light erupted, not bright, but wrong. The kind of light that bent perception. The drones froze, their systems drowning in false threats, ghost targets, phantom enemies. Mara raised her rifle and fired once. One shot. One drone fell. The rest followed in silence. Above, Warlord Veshkor slammed a claw into his console. "Why is the fleet drifting?" he roared. "Why are my weapons not responding?" An officer cried out. "Multiple systems report internal sabotage. But no intrusions detected." Veshkor's eyes burned. "Impossible," he snarled. "We would see them." That was the second mistake. Assuming humans needed to be seen. On the far edge of the system, a human stealth carrier unfolded its hull like a flower opening in darkness. Dozens of smaller craft detached, not fighters, but something stranger. They did not rush forward. They waited. Timing mattered. Director Ma watched the evacuation counters tick upward. Thousands saved. Then tens of thousands. Dominion fleet response, she asked. Soren's fingers danced across controls. Confused. Fragmented. They're trying to reassert command, but their hierarchy relies on centralized control. Lian allowed herself a thin smile. And we don't. She leaned closer to the display. Send the message. Across all Dominion channels, a signal cut through, clean, unencrypted, impossible to block. It carried no threats. Only words. You are not in control. On Veshkor's bridge, the message translated instantly. His jaws tightened. Humans, he spat. Then his tactical officer shouted. My lord. Multiple mass signatures emerging from stealth, range extreme close. Veshkor looked up. And for the first time, he saw them. Not one ship. Not a fleet in neat lines. But a scattered pattern of human vessels appearing exactly where Dominion doctrine said no ship should be able to survive. Between formations. Inside defensive envelopes. In blind spots no one had thought to guard. Human ships did not announce themselves with bright weapons fire. They blocked. They jammed. They cut off retreat routes with precision. Then, finally, they spoke with force. A single Dominion cruiser lost power completely, not destroyed, but dead in space. Another had its weapons fused shut by a focused energy pulse that left the hull intact. This was not extermination. It was dissection. Back on Orchard 9, Mara sealed the last transport door. All civilians aboard, she reported. The craft lifted silently, vanishing into distortion. Mara watched the ruins below, burning fields, shattered cities. She felt anger, sharp and clean. Director, she sent. Evacuation complete. Lian's reply came instantly. Well done. Now get out. Mara hesitated. And the Dominion. Lian's voice carried no heat. They wanted to teach us a lesson, she said. Now they'll learn one. In orbit, the Dominion fleet finally began to break formation. Too late. Warlord Veshkor stood rigid as reports flooded in. Their ships were not being destroyed. They were being disabled. Captured. Herded. His empire's greatest strength, overwhelming force, was useless against an enemy that refused to meet it head-on. He realized, with a cold clarity, that this was not a rescue operation. This was a demonstration. Across the galaxy, compact worlds watched the battle unfold in stunned silence. Humans were not raging. They were not screaming vengeance. They were operating with calm efficiency, like surgeons correcting a fatal mistake. High Mediator Seln whispered, "What have we allowed to grow?" In her control room, Lian Ma answered that question quietly. "You allowed us to learn," she said. "And now, you're learning too." As the last human transport slipped into stealth, Orchard 9 burned behind them. But for the first time since the attack began, the Dominion fleet was retreating. Not because of treaties. Not because of fear of the compact. But because they had finally understood the truth. Humans did not win wars by being the strongest. They won by being the smartest thing in the room. The first thing the galaxy felt was not fear. It was confusion. Across thousands of systems, observers watched the same impossible truth unfold. The Car Dominion fleet, an armada that had crushed entire civilizations, was retreating from a single human colony system. Not destroyed. Not chased in panic. Outplayed. In compact space, the shock spread faster than any broadcast. On the floating world of Talaris Prime, traders stopped mid-transaction as screens replayed slowed footage of Dominion ships going dark one by one. On the crystalline moons of Vera, scholars argued loudly over sensor data that should not exist. On dozens of military worlds, old admirals leaned forward in silence, eyes narrow, minds racing. Humans had not broken the rules loudly. They had broken them cleanly. High Mediator Seln sat motionless in the compact's central chamber. The ancient being's translucent skin pulsed faintly, a sign of stress his species rarely showed in public. "Confirm again," Seln said slowly. An aide swallowed. "The Dominion fleet has withdrawn from Orchard 9. Estimated losses, minimal hull destruction, but severe operational damage. Multiple capital ships disabled and captured." Captured. The word echoed through the chamber. "That is not possible," another council member said. "Humans are restricted to defensive fleets." Seln's many eyes closed halfway. "Officially," he said. The chamber fell quiet. Because everyone in the compact leadership was thinking the same thing. If humans could do this while restrained, what could they do without restraint? On Earth, Director Lian Ma stood with her hands behind her back, watching the aftermath unfold across her displays. Rescue ships vanished into stealth lanes. Medical teams dispersed survivors to hidden recovery stations. Ghost teams extracted cleanly, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and questions. Soren Vance exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. "Survivor count is higher than projected," he said. "We saved nearly a quarter of the population." Lian closed her eyes briefly. "Not enough. It would never be enough." "Dominion communications?" she asked. Soren hesitated. "They're requesting contact." Lian opened her eyes. "Requesting," she repeated. "Yes. Priority signal. High encryption. They want to speak with human command." A quiet murmur rippled through the room. Lian's expression did not change. "Route it," she said. "But not to me." Soren looked surprised. "Then to who?" Lian turned slightly. "To them." She gestured toward a secondary screen, where Ambassador Nira Holt stood in a plain briefing room, her posture relaxed but alert. Nira's eyes met Lian's through the camera. "I assume this means the galaxy is paying attention now," Nira said. "They are," Lian replied. "Including the Dominion." Nira gave a small, humorless smile. "Then it's time." The channel opened. Warlord Veshkor appeared on the screen, his armored form filling the frame, eyes burning with restrained fury. Behind him, his bridge was dimmer than before, systems running on emergency power. "You attack without honor," Veshkor growled. Nira tilted her head slightly. "You attacked farmers." Silence followed. Veshkor's jaw muscles flexed. "You broke compact law." Nira's voice was calm. "So did you." "We are warriors," Veshkor snapped. "We take what we can hold." "And we," Nira said softly, "protect what is ours." Veshkor leaned closer to the camera. "You will return our ships," he demanded. "You will withdraw. Or this war will spread." Nira's eyes hardened. "Listen carefully," she said. "Because this is the last time I will speak slowly for you." She gestured, and the feed split. Images appeared, Dominion ships, intact but powerless, held in isolated pockets of space. Human vessels floated nearby, silent, watchful, patient. "You see war as fire," Nira continued. "We see it as engineering. Every system has stress points. Yours were obvious." Veshkor stared, realization creeping into his expression. "You are threatening us," he said. Nira shook her head. "No. We are informing you." She leaned forward slightly. "You will withdraw from human space. You will never again target a human civilian world. You will return to your borders and stay there." "And if we refuse?" Veshkor snarled. Nira's answer was simple. "Then we stop being careful." The channel closed. For a long moment, no one in the room spoke. Soren broke the silence. "They won't forget that." Lian nodded. "Good." Elsewhere, panic bloomed in places panic had not existed for centuries. Compact military analysts ran simulations that failed repeatedly. Diplomatic corps scrambled to draft statements fast enough to keep up with events. Smaller species, those who had relied on the compact's promise of safety, watched the footage and asked a terrifying question. If the Compact could not protect humans, who could it protect? On the world of Let His, a young alien student stared at a paused frame showing a human stealth ship outlined by sensor distortion. "They're not monsters," the student whispered. "They're precise." Her teacher said nothing. In the Compact assembly, Seln finally rose from his seat. "We must convene emergency talks with Earth," he announced. "Immediately." Some council members looked relieved. Others looked afraid. On Earth, the United Human Council gathered beneath layers of stone and steel. Faces were tired. Eyes were sharp. This was not a celebration. This was a reckoning. President Alina Ree stood at the center of the room. "The galaxy has seen us act," she said. "They are reassessing everything they thought they knew." A general spoke. "The Compact will demand answers, explanations, concessions." "And the Dominion?" another asked. "They will lick their wounds," Director Ma said. "And remember." President Ree folded her hands. "For 2 centuries," she said, "we proved we could be peaceful. Now we have proven we can be dangerous." She looked around the room. "The question is not whether the galaxy fears us." The room grew still. "The question," she continued, "is what we do with that fear." Silence answered her. Finally, Nira Holt spoke. "We do what humans have always done when faced with power," she said. "We choose." President Ree nodded slowly. "Then prepare a message," she said. "Not just to the Compact." Her gaze sharpened. "To everyone." Far away, in the depths of Dominion space, Warlord Vesh Kaur stood alone after the call ended. He stared at the stars beyond his viewport, fists clenched. The humans had not roared. They had not chased. They had simply shown him the future if he tried again. For the first time in his long life of conquest, Vesh Kaur felt something unfamiliar. Caution. Back on Orchard 9, fires still burned, but above them, the sky was empty of enemy ships. And across the galaxy, one truth had settled in. Humanity had finally spoken. And the galaxy was no longer sure it liked what it heard. The Compact did not sleep. For 3 days after Orchard 9, no major council chamber went dark. Delegates rotated in shifts. Analysts burned through simulations. Ancient beings who had not felt urgency in centuries now argued with raised voices and trembling limbs. Because the balance they had built their civilization on was gone. Not broken by invasion. Broken by exposure. High Mediator Seln arrived at Earth aboard a compact diplomatic vessel unlike any that had come before. It carried no escort. No banners. No implied authority. Just a simple request for landing clearance. Earth granted it immediately. Not as submission. As confidence. The meeting took place in Nairobi, in a structure half glass and half stone, designed to remind visitors of 2 things, openness and weight. Sunlight filtered through wide windows. Beneath the floor, kilometers of reinforced bedrock housed systems the Compact was not invited to inspect. President Alina Ree stood as Seln entered, flanked by Ambassador Nira Holt and Director Lian Ma. No guards stood openly. They didn't need to. Seln studied the humans carefully. For the first time, he did not see a young species struggling to belong. He saw something older in posture and presence, something forged by constant pressure. "You have destabilized the Compact," Seln said without preamble. President Ree gestured politely to a seat. "Please sit." Seln did, slowly. "You violated treaties you agreed to," Seln continued. "You concealed military development for over a century. You acted without authorization." Lian Ma's voice was calm. The Dominion violated the same treaties when they attacked civilians. Seln turned one of his eyes toward her. "That is under review." Nira Holt leaned forward slightly. 8 million dead is not a discussion, she said. It's a fact. Silence settled over the table. Seln exhaled, a long, shimmering release of air. "You must understand," he said, "why the Compact fears what you have revealed." President Ree nodded. "We do." Seln's eyes widened slightly. "You do not deny it." No, Ree said. We acknowledge it. That answer unsettled him more than anger would have. For generations, Seln said, the Compact believed peace could be maintained by limiting the most dangerous species, by smoothing sharp edges. He looked directly at Ree. You were the sharpest edge. Lian Ma allowed herself a thin smile. And yet, we cut only what threatened us. Seln hesitated. This time. Nira Holt's gaze was steady. Always. The mediator shifted. You ask us to believe that a species capable of this restraint, he gestured vaguely, meaning the hidden fleets, the precision strikes, the quiet domination of a superior force, will not dominate the galaxy. President Ree folded her hands. Let me ask you something, mediator, she said. When the Dominion attacked Orchard 9, what stopped them? Seln answered automatically. Eventually, your intervention. No, Ree corrected gently. What stopped them from attacking before was the belief that the Compact would protect us. Seln did not reply. That belief failed, Ree continued. And when it failed, we acted. She leaned forward. We are not asking to rule the galaxy. We are not asking to replace the Compact. Then what are you asking? Seln asked. Nira Holt spoke. We are asking to be treated as what we are. And that is. Seln pressed. Adults, Nira said. The word echoed strangely in the chamber. Lian Ma activated a display. A new framework appeared, simple, structured, brutally honest. The Earth Doctrine. Human worlds will defend themselves without Compact restriction. Human fleets will not initiate war, but will respond decisively to civilian harm. Human technology will not be shared under coercion. Earth will intervene when the Compact cannot or will not protect its members. Seln stared at the list. You are proposing a parallel authority, he said. President Ree shook her head. A parallel responsibility. Seln's voice grew quiet. Do you know what this will cause? Smaller species will seek your protection instead of ours. Some already have, Nira said. Seln's skin shimmered again. Distress. You will fracture the galaxy. Lian Ma met his gaze. The galaxy was already fractured. We just stopped pretending otherwise. Far from Earth, the Dominion held an emergency war council. The captured ships, returned intact but stripped of sensitive systems, had delivered a message more powerful than destruction. The humans could have annihilated them. They chose not to. That choice unsettled the Dominion more than any defeat. Warlord Veshkor listened as advisors spoke in worried tones. They did not humiliate us publicly, one said. They did not pursue us. They let us retreat, another added. That is not weakness. Veshkor's claws tightened. It is control, he said. For the first time, Dominion doctrine manuals were rewritten, not to plan conquest, but to plan avoidance. Back in the Compact Assembly, Seln addressed the gathered representatives. The age of absolute Compact authority is over, he said. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Humanity has demonstrated a capability we can neither ignore nor suppress. A delegate cried out, then what are we to do? Seln closed his eyes. We adapt, he said. As humans always have. On Earth, news of the meeting spread quickly. There was no cheering in the streets. No calls for conquest. There was something else. Resolve. Children watched recordings of Orchard 9 rescues in classrooms. Engineers studied ghost team tactics. Artists painted images of shadowed ships protecting burning worlds. Humanity did not celebrate power. It respected it. Director Ma stood alone later that night, looking out at Earth's curve through reinforced glass. Soren joined her quietly. Do you think they'll accept it? He asked. They don't have to, Lian said. They just have to believe it. And if they don't? Lian's reflection stared back at her, tired, determined. Then we'll keep doing what we did at Orchard 9. Soren nodded. Protect our own. Lian corrected him gently. Protect anyone who can't protect themselves. Above Earth, New ships took their places in silent orbits, not threatening, not hidden. Visible. Honest. A statement without words. Across the galaxy, pirates reconsidered routes. Warlords delayed plans. Even ancient empires paused. Because humanity had not claimed dominance. It had claimed responsibility. And responsibility, wielded by a species that learned faster than anyone else, was the most dangerous force of all. The galaxy did not wait long to test Earth's words. It never does. 3 months after Orchard 9, trade lanes shifted. Border patrols doubled. Compact observers watched human space with a mix of fear and fascination. Humanity's fleets remained visible but quiet, holding position like a promise that had teeth. Some called it a bluff. Others called it balance. Then the distress signal came. It did not originate from human space. It came from Keshval, a minor compact world on the far rim, home to a small, peaceful species known for agriculture and art, not war. They had no meaningful defenses. No strategic value. Which made them perfect prey. The attackers were not the Dominion. They were worse. The Ravagers of Nox were nomads, raiders who lived between systems, striking fast, taking slaves, stripping worlds bare before vanishing into the dark. The Compact had chased them for centuries, never fast enough, never decisive enough. On Keshval, cities burned under a red sky. Orbital platforms fell in pieces. Millions ran with nowhere to hide. And for the first time, the Compact's emergency channels did not ask, "What should we do?" They asked, "Will Earth respond?" In the Nairobi Command Complex, Director Lian Ma received the alert and felt a familiar, heavy calm settle in her chest. "They're watching," Soren Vance said quietly. "All of them." Lian nodded. "Good." President Ree joined the room moments later, already briefed. "Keshval is not under our protection," she said. "No," Nira Holt replied, standing beside her. "But they're under someone's." The room was silent. This was the moment critics had warned about. The moment that would define whether Earth's doctrine was principle or ambition. Lian brought up a tactical projection. The Ravager's fleet was crude but fast. Hit-and-run ships. Decentralized command. No homeworld to threaten. "They don't care about borders," Soren said. "They care about fear." President Ree folded her arms. "And fear spreads if left alone." She looked at Lian. "Options." Lian answered immediately. "We can intercept within 12 hours. Minimal force. No casualties if executed correctly." A general frowned. "That still means military action in non-human space." "Yes," Lian said. "To stop civilian harm." Nira Holt's voice was steady. "If we hesitate, Orchard 9 means nothing." President Ree closed her eyes briefly. Then she opened them. "Authorize intervention," she said. "Under Earth doctrine rules. Record everything. Make it transparent." Lian nodded. "Ghost Fleet will move." Across the galaxy, sensors lit up again. Human ships slipped from known orbits, not in mass formation, not in threat display, but in carefully spaced vectors that no compact strategist would have chosen. They did not rush Keshval. They cut off exits. The Ravagers noticed too late. Their scouts vanished without distress calls. Their command relays went silent one by one. Confusion rippled through their fleet as false targets flooded their systems. Phantom threats, collapsing jump coordinates, impossible readings. On Keshval's surface, the Ravagers' ground forces froze as their orbital support failed. Then the human ships spoke. Not with a broadcast. With precision. Power cores shut down mid-charge. Weapon systems locked themselves into safe mode. Boarding corridors sealed. Escape pods failed to launch. The Ravagers had built their empire on terror. Humans dismantled it like a machine. Within 40 minutes, the entire Ravager fleet was drifting, alive, intact, and completely helpless. No explosions. No pursuit. Just silence. On Keshval, the sky cleared. An elderly Keshval elder stood amid the ruins of a half-destroyed plaza, staring upward as human medical craft descended like gentle rain. They came, she whispered. The humans came. Across compact space, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. They had expected humans to hesitate. They had expected negotiation. They had expected conditions. Instead, humanity acted exactly as it said it would, decisive, restrained, and focused entirely on civilian protection. High Mediator Seln watched the footage in silence. They didn't take territory, an aide said. They didn't demand tribute. They didn't even issue a statement, another added. Seln exhaled slowly. No, he said. They didn't need to. On Earth, Director Ma watched the final report come in. No civilian casualties after intervention, Soren said. Ravager leadership secured. Awaiting disposition. President Ri entered the room again. What do we do with them? She asked. Lian did not answer immediately. Return them, Nira Holt said quietly. Return them, a general repeated. They'll raid again. Not like this, Nira replied. Lian nodded in agreement. We strip their fleet. Remove their mobility. Hand them to the compact. Soren blinked. You trust the compact with that? No, Lian said. But the galaxy needs to see this wasn't about replacing them. President Ri considered that. Then she nodded. Do it. The message went out. Public, clear, unedited. Earth intervention log. Keshval. Purpose. Civilian protection. Territory taken. None. Casualties caused by human forces. 0. Across the galaxy, something shifted. Fear of humanity did not vanish. But something else appeared beside it. Trust. On Keshval, human aid teams worked quietly, rebuilding water systems, stabilizing power grids, treating the wounded. No flags were planted. No demands made. A Keshval child looked up at a human medic and asked, "Why did you help us?" The medic smiled tiredly. "Because someone once didn't help us," she said. "And we decided that would never happen again." Far away, Warlord Veshkor of the Dominion watched the same footage. He felt no anger. Only understanding. Humans were not conquerors. They were something far more dangerous. They were guardians who chose when to strike. And guardians, once proven, reshape the rules of every predator in the dark. History does not usually announce when it changes. Most of the time, it shifts quietly, noticed only years later, when people look back and realize the world they live in is not the one they were born into. But this time, the galaxy knew. Because after Keshval, no one questioned whether humanity meant what it said. They questioned what it would mean to live in a galaxy where humans kept their word. The compact assembly gathered again, fuller than it had ever been. Species that had never sent representatives before demanded seats. Minor worlds, forgotten colonies, border systems that lived in fear, all of them wanted to be present. Not to accuse. To listen. High Mediator Seln stood before them, older than ever, yet strangely lighter. For millennia, he began, the compact believed peace could be enforced through balance and delay. Through rules that applied equally, even when harm did not. Murmurs spread through the chamber. We believed neutrality was wisdom, Seln continued. That patience was strength. He paused, then said words no one expected. We were wrong. Silence fell like a held breath. Seln gestured, and the chamber screens displayed a single image, Orchard 9. Then Keshval. One world lost. One world saved. Peace, Seln said, is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of protection. He turned slowly, facing the human delegation seated without ceremony. President Alina Ri, Ambassador Nira Holt, Director Lian Ma. You have changed the equation, Seln said. And the galaxy must change with it. A delegate from a small border species rose. Will humans rule us now? They asked, voice trembling. Nira Holt stood. No, she said simply. Another delegate spoke. Will you decide which wars are just? Nira shook her head. No. A third voice, stronger. Then what are you? Neera looked around the vast chamber, at beings of crystal and flame, flesh and machine, ancient and newborn. "We are witnesses," she said. "And when witnessing is not enough, we act." That answer spread through the chamber like quiet thunder. The compact did not dissolve. It evolved. Restrictions on humanity were formally lifted, not with celebration, but with acceptance. New response protocols were drafted, built not on endless debate but on rapid civilian defense. Joint task forces formed, human strategists working beside alien tacticians who had never thought that way before. The galaxy did not become safer overnight, but it became more honest. On Earth, life continued. Children still went to school. Farmers still watched the weather. Artists still argued over meaning. The human fleets remained in orbit, not looming, not hidden. Present. Director Lian Ma retired quietly 6 months later. No grand ceremony. No speeches. She left behind a system that no longer needed her vigilance every second. On her last day, she stood beside Soren Vance, watching a new generation of officers train. "They'll make mistakes," Soren said. Lian smiled faintly. "Good. That means they're human." In Dominion space, Warlord Vesh Kor oversaw a very different future. Expansion doctrines were archived. Borders were reinforced inward. The word human was no longer spoken with laughter among his people. It was spoken with care. In pirate enclaves, ships altered routes away from human-protected lanes. In war councils across the stars, one question became standard before any attack. Will humans care? And if the answer might be yes, plans changed. Years passed. Stories spread. Not propaganda. Not threats. Stories. Of human ships arriving without announcement to stop massacres. Of silent fleets disabling slavers without killing a single captive. Of doctors landing before diplomats, rebuilding before negotiating. Some called humanity dangerous. Others called them saviors. Most learned the truth. Humanity was neither. Humanity was awake. On the 20th anniversary of Orchard 9, a memorial stood on the rebuilt world. Fields grew again. Children played under open skies. Names of the lost were carved into stone, not as symbols of rage, but as anchors of memory. President Rhee, older now, addressed a small gathering. "We warned the galaxy once," she said. "Not because we wanted fear." She looked at the horizon. "But because we wanted understanding." Above the planet, human ships passed silently, guardians on watch, not conquerors on parade. Far out among the stars, explorers from young species spoke of Earth with awe. Not as a throne. As a promise. And so the legend spread, not of Earth's power, but of its choice. That when humanity finally spoke to the galaxy, it did not shout. It said, "Never again." And this time, the universe listened.